If you are modeling your own car design, you definitely need a basic tire, right? In this video I'm gonna show you how to build a tire like this in very simple steps and in a very quick way. Also, you can download this model for free from my website. And you can see the difference. Doesn't matter which stage, if your car is like on the very beginning modeling level, or if you just improve the car a little bit more, it doesn't matter. Rather than basic cylinder, if you just add a simple tire here, it will definitely look better, and you always need a base tire. So let's jump into it. So here on the default cube, I will go into edit mode, Alt Z to X-ray mode, and delete all these vertices on the bottom. And later I want to make a mirror of this plane, so I will just add a Ctrl R edge loop, delete these two vertices and move them a little bit here. So now if I go to modifiers and add the mirror modifier, here we have this mirror option. So now I want to design a very basic pattern on the top of the tire. Let's just scale it on the y-axis like this, move it a little bit like that. It can be very basic pattern. You can use a reference image or anything you want. I will just keep it simple for myself. So I'm gonna just create something like very simple, then delete these two faces. Now we can play around. I will just double G here, maybe something like this, and these can also get closer maybe, or I will hit C to move it forward like this, and I just want to move them all closer to each other. Here we go. This can be like a very basic wheel pattern. You can always change it, it's always up to you, but I'm quite happy with it, just to show the logic of creation of it. So here we go. Let's keep it like this for now, or maybe we can add something a little bit more interesting like this, and even less, create a little gap here. So here we go. I will use this as our base shape for the tire pattern. So what we want to create first is the array. So I will go to add modifier and array, but not on the x-axis. So I will go here and hit 0, and on the y-axis let's hit 1 for now. You can always bring it closer or further. It depends on your design and depends on your taste. So I will keep it like this for now. So now I want to add a curve to rotate this texture on top of the wheel. So Shift A, curve and circle, RY 90 degrees. And now I see that my texture is actually huge. So I will go to edit mode, pick this one as active and go to active element, scale X, and move it also a little bit closer like that. Oh, this looks super exaggerated. So S, Y to also scale it like that to keep the original design, let's say, proportions. These all are totally random. I'm not using even a reference image. You can use reference image and reference dimensions, but for now I will just focus on creating the wheel, and later when I import this tire to my car model I will scale it down anyway. But if you want more realistic results and if you want to go with direct dimensions, you can always use reference images from existing rims. So now we added our curve, and next modifier will be the curve modifier. We added our circle, so here we have the curve. We need to pick this object, and you see that it's going into another direction. So deform axis will be -y in our case. And now you see that it's super far from the circle. Fixing it is easy. We will just hit G and Z. We will just move it on the Z axis so we can bring it closer to the circle, like on the side view, GZ, and maybe somewhere like this. Then I will just increase the array numbers. So as you see, we already create this tile thing. The proportions to me is super wide, it's very wide tire I see. So I will go to edit mode. I will just move this to closer. Let's see how it's now. It's better maybe like this. Or even if this is too much, we can always get rid of stuff. Like we can move all this on top view, somewhere like that. These can get closer. And also these ones can be like that. So now as we change the design, also the array number doesn't match. So we can just increase the array. And this is the tricky part, like there are question marks on this sometimes. The point is to get as close as possible to follow this regular gap in between each tile, each texture. And when you are close enough, now we will just pick our textures and we will just scale it down or up a little bit to match perfectly with this size. So here is the tile, the textures, and now I want to add a little bit of angle. So I will just move it like this and maybe pick them all a little bit here. Let's go to front view. I'm trying to add a little bit of section, let's say. But this is not the tire itself. It will be only the pattern over it, so it's not that important. Here, I don't know what we have. Why is it like this? Let's move it up. Okay, so let's also add a quick rim and then the tire itself, so everything will make more sense very soon. First, let's add a material, also very basic darker material, and go to material preview because it's always nice to see the material colors while modeling, right? Why not? So now the rim part is another logic. We will follow another type of strategy here. First thing, I want to add Shift A and I'm going to add a mesh circle. The number is important here. We want something can be divided into 5. So basically I will just pick 50 vertices. So now we have a 50 vertices circle here. I'm going to rotate it on y-axis 90 degrees and decide the dimension. Let's say the rim will be here. So in between we will have the thickness of the tire. So I'm quite happy with it. It's good size in my opinion. I do it by eye, and as I modeled before and I follow some tires, I think this proportions is good. But again, you can always use reference image. So I will go to edit mode. What I want is I want 5 spokes rim. So I need a section which is 1/5 of this whole circle. 360 divided by 5 is 72. So I want a 72-degree slice of this circle. Then we will circular array it. So we will basically copy 1 spoke into 5. And actually, as this is very basic rim, I can even use it mirrored version. So we need only 1/10 of this circle. To be sure about all these angles, I will basically add a plane here and I will do rotate x-axis 90 degrees. So I'm on the top. This will be the symmetry. And I want now only half of this 1/5, which is, if I just duplicate this plane again, right click, RX36, I will hit minus and enter. So I want this section here. That's all I need. We have these 2 planes here, and this is the 36 degree of it. It's just for the reference. So I can just move them also a little bit down like that. The problem now is to get this section, our circle, as you see, we need to rotate the vertices to match with this 2. So I'm just gonna RX and 3.6, no, because right now I'm on the active selection. We don't want active selection. I want the 3D cursor from now on our rim to the center of this all modifications. After picking the whole circle, I'm being sure that I'm on the 3D cursor and then RX 3.6 degrees. So basically we just moved all the vertices a little bit so it match with the slice that we want. So this slice that we want to keep, so I will hit Ctrl I to select the other and delete the vertices. So now we have this. We can add the modifier mirror. Nothing changes because we're on the center and it's on the x-axis. We want the y-axis. So here is our mirror. So whatever I do here will be mirrored. And now we want to also array it around. There's no default tool for this. So I'm going to just go to object mode, add an empty to our scene. We will use this empty for our array management, let's say. I'm going back to my circle, add a modifier array. Rather than the relative offset, I want object offset. And here I'm gonna pick our empty. At this point, it's important to apply transforms to our circle because then whatever we do with this empty will directly affect from default. So what we want with this 1/5 of the slice is rotate it 5 times, 4 more times. So we will have 5 of them. So on the array, I'm gonna pick 5, and to rotate it, I'm gonna basically rotate the empty RX 72 degrees. If you wanna see what just happened, if I just rotate it, as you see, the circle is following the degree of the empty, and the number of array decides how many of them we want. So we want 5 copies. Here we go. After we set up these modifiers, the rest is easy because now I will just go to edit mode. I will pick the circle. By keeping the 3D cursor selected here, we can simply scale and extend stuff around. So I hit E and S, so scale up a little bit. This can be the thickness of our rim, the profile of it. Then we can even create like a little bit of section here, GX, a little bit. I'm moving it a little bit inside. Let's hide this guy. And then EX again, then maybe ES again to scale it down, then EX. So we have this profile of the rim that will hold the tire. Then from the inside, we can also EZ a little bit to give a bit more thickness maybe. Can move this in the middle. And now we can create the basic rim shape out of it. So I will pick this vertex ES. It already goes to center as you see, but it's a little bit too thick. So I'm gonna just delete this vertices and I'm gonna pick a shorter one because you can imagine that it will mirror also this way. So ES, let's say something like that. Let's add a little bit of depth to it. And this can be the basic rim for us. I'm gonna pick the material and add a material already. A little bit darker and full metallic, a little bit less rough and shade smooth. When I say shade smooth, you can see we have a couple of problems. We didn't add subdivision, so even if we shade smooth, we still see some different shadings going on. So I will just go to data properties, and under the normals, I will click on auto smooth. So what this basically does is the angles over 30 degrees will look sharp and the rest will be smooth. But here you can see there is something happening. Even if it's smooth, the rest here there's a break, and it repeats itself 5 times. It shows kind of the portion that we arrayed. So to get rid of this artifact, let's say I'm gonna go to Edit Modifier, under Array, I will click on Merge. The Merge will fix most of it, but this one, the original one, still is here. So under this Merge, you need to check the box first and last copies. So this way we get rid of this seams between, and I can already unhide the texture to see what's happening. So our rim is a little bit inside, but if I want to just move it out, as you see something weird happening. The reason for that is the origin of this object. We want the origin to stay with the cursor. So to keep this, I will go to Edit Mode, pick all of them and just move them out a little bit like this. So when I'm on the Edit Mode, the origin doesn't change of this rim, so it will not affect our array modifier. I'll go to Front View to decide how will be my tire shape. I'm planning to add a tire like this, so to me it looks fine. So now to create the tire, the sidewall and the basic volume of the tire, I'm gonna use this rim actually. I'm gonna pick this edge, Shift D, right click, and maybe scale it a little bit. So we have a little bit of gap here. So now we can use this to create our tire. I will go to Front View by hitting the numpad 1, and I will start scaling it. ES. It scales also a little bit outwards rather than like directly outside, because we use the 3D cursor as the base. So it has an angle, but it doesn't matter. You can always, with G, X, you can always move. But I want it a little bit go outside like this, kind of aligned with the rim's outer edge. And ES again, GZ, sorry, GX, ES, GX, ES, GX, maybe scale it a little bit more, then ES, GX. Here I want to mirror this tire, because here the texture, the pattern of the tire is also mirrored, and I don't want to go over this origin axis. So what I'm gonna do is, first of all, let's change the material, and let's separate this tire from the rim. So I will just hit L when I'm hovering my mouse over the vertices of the tire, hit P by selection. So on the object mode now we separated them, and on the tire I will go to materials. I will pick the first material, which is the same with our tiles, our patterns. But now it doesn't look super nice. We don't even see the separations and everything. For this I will go to render properties and I will add ambient occlusion and maybe distance a little bit more, so it adds at least some shadows to understand better. So now on the modifier sections, I'm gonna add another mirror to the tire. And as you see now, we have also on the other side, I will go to edit mode. I'll pick this and move it on the x-axis, but I don't want to cross the border. And to avoid this, on my latest mirror modifier, I will activate the clipping. And so now I cannot even go further even if I want to. So now we can scale it up a little bit. Also this one. So basically now we can play around with our tire shape, the section of it, the rim and the pattern, all of them. Also on the tire, I will just right click shade smooth, so it will look better. But if it's still not good enough for you, you can always add subdivision, like Ctrl 2, and we add subdivision, and we can always play around still with it. Like if you want it sharper here, Ctrl B to add a bevel, something like this. Here maybe also a little bit of bevel, so it's like a nice smooth tire profile there. And for this, as you see, it's like a plane, there's no thickness on it. So we can do two things. We can go to edit mode and add the thickness physically, or we can go to modifier and add the solidify modifier. So let's see the solidify modifier. If I add thickness, as you see, we can do it outside or inside. For me, it's enough to intersect with the tire itself. And if it's a little bit too much outside, we can always move it on the GZ so we can get closer to the tire. And I think this looks pretty cool for me, pretty enough. Maybe we can add also shade smooth on that and also go to this data properties and auto smooth. All right, looks nice to me already. Maybe on the rim we can add the center of it. So I will just pick a loop here, Shift D and then S. So I scale it down, GZ to move it like this, ES, scale down, maybe move it like that. Pick the whole thing, get it closer here. And I'm just creating very basic shape here to have something in the middle of the tire. At the end, this wheel is for like a replacement. It's not your final design. For final design also you can use same technique. You just need to add more details and stuff. However, for the beginning of the project, rather than seeing a base cylinder, using a replacement tire like this, the wheel like this, will definitely be more helpful and more satisfying in my opinion. I also made this shade smooth and auto smooth to keep the edges, and you can always add bevel if you want to change stuff. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is adding the thickness to the spokes. Basically I will pick this EX a little bit, and it's enough already. I don't need to do anything else. Maybe we can add a bevel here, but it mess up with here, so I don't even need that. Maybe we can just move this a little bit like outside, something like this. And inside of the rim also we have this, but I want to also copy similar section here. So I will pick the whole section that we created before, not the middle, or even the middle, it's fine. I will just shift D and scale X minus 1. So this way we just move it on the other side, and I will just pick this GG, also that one. And if it's not visible what I did, let me hide the other things. So basically I just picked the whole section here, and I just scaled -1 on x-axis, so we basically copied it, mirrored it on this side. So now I'm gonna pick this both edge loops, Ctrl E, and bridge the edge loops. So we just close it, and Alt H to unhide everything. So we already have our basic tire, basic wheel. So you can already copy paste it. Oh, we have here some thing going on. It might be also on the modifier merge. Oh, it is already merged. Oh, okay, it's just because of its low poly. We can always add Ctrl 2, subdivision, and then we can make it sharper, some edges to fix it. Or we can add some edge loops around. And alright, that's better. It's not better actually. What is happening here? I'm trying to understand which side is it. It's in between, so it's here. Okay, I see that there is, on the side view there are these things happening. I don't know how did it happen. While scaling we mess up with something, I guess. So now it's fine. Alright, it already looks good. I can just make some parts sharper. What I did here, this pink line, if you don't know, I just picked this edge, for example, Shift E, and just drag my mouse to make it sharper. It's called the edge crease, so we can add some edge crease on different parts rather than adding edge loops, as it's very draft basic model. So we can also add like a cylinder here, RY 90 degrees, go to side view, scale it down, scale it on x-axis, go to front view. This can be the brake disc. Again, we don't even need to add edge loop, because we will not go into details on these models, on these renders, but if you want, I mean the subdivision, but if you want we can add Ctrl 2, a basic subdivision, and then we can just add edge loops. You know how to make a circle, I think. So we can I here we go. And for the material I can pick the second material and then change it a little bit without changing the original one, make it darker. So here we go. I think it will be very nice replacement tire for the model. However, if you want to go to next step, we can add some material details like the sidewall of the tire and some roughness. It's also very simple and very easy. So let's directly jump into it. So for that I will focus on the tire. First thing I want to do is adding the sidewall of it. If you are not familiar, it's easy, don't worry, we will go to UV editing here. I will try to keep it as simple as possible. What I need is only the sidewall of this tire. So I'm gonna pick these faces here. I'm gonna say U, hit U and unwrap. It gives us only the section, of course. So before doing that, I need to apply the modifiers. So I need to save the file as it is right now first. So you can download both this version and applied modifiers version. So if you want to play around with it, you can do it. So now I'm gonna Ctrl Shift S, also make it like base tire applied modifiers blend file. So what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna apply all this mirror array, mirror subdivision. So we applied everything. Now when I pick this sidewall like this, I can hit U and unwrap, and we have two circles actually. I was expecting one. The reason is it picked as a mirrored, so I'm just gonna hit C, and with the middle mouse button, or we can just do it like this. Here, C and the middle mouse button, I deselected that part. I only want this part of it. So here we have. UV editing basically use the same shortcut, so I can just scale it up and move it around this area. And we will basically project an image. So I need an image, so I will go to open, and I already created a couple of them, so I will just open it here. And we wanna match this mesh area with the image we just have. I'll go to full screen and scale it around to match with it, something like this, but it doesn't totally match. but it's not a problem. By the way, you can always download from internet, or you can create your own design here. So I'm gonna pick this inner loops, and scale them down just to include this side of it as well. I will do the same here. And one last check to be sure it's more or less symmetrical everywhere. Yes, it is. So basically we just covered our image. And here on this side, if I just take a look on the materials, I don't see anything yet. Even if I just deselect everything or go to object mode, I still don't see the image here, because we also need to change the material of it. So I will just go to shading here, and as you see, two materials, like there's this 2 number here, which means 2 objects are using the same material, but I don't want that. So I will just click on this, so the tire and the texture can be separated now. On the tire material, I will just Shift A, add texture, image texture. And here I don't need to go to open because we already imported to our file. I'm gonna pick the sidewall 3. And now if I just put it on the base color, we can see that we have the texture already on our tire. But we don't wanna use it on the base color, at least for now. I wanna use it on the bump. I wanna make a bump out of it. So to do that, I just need a Shift A, vector and bump. So here I will just connect the sidewall to the height and normal to the normal of the tire. Let's see what will happen. It seems like it's going inside. I want it to be outside, so I will just click on invert. So the black parts are now outside, and I will just reduce the strength a little bit. It's a little bit too much, maybe still a little bit too much, something like that can be. There are these little bumps. I think they are the pixels from the image, but I think it adds kind of like a nice texture of it, so it doesn't bother me honestly. We can also go to color space and non-color to fix it better. If you face any problems, just keep it non-color. And here we go. We have our pattern over the tire sidewall. If you want to add also color, if you want to use it on the color, we can basically use the same for the base color and Shift A, converter and color ramp. So we add the color ramp in between. For the white one, I can make it dark tire color. So this one on the left, if I make it white, you can have this kind of retro sticker-like pattern as well. I don't know if it's something you're interested in. I normally like it. I like this type of things, but I will for now just keep it darker, only as the pattern. Here we go. The next stage, if you want to add also a little bit of roughness on top, it can be the last little touch to make a little bit more realism, even if it's a draft model. So to do that, I will use a texture, noise texture. So Shift A, texture, noise texture. And if your Wrangler node is on, I guess if you're watching this video, you already know what is Wrangler node, but if you don't know, you need to go to Edit, Preferences, and here type Wrangler node, and you can just turn it on. Because when it's on, when you select the noise texture and Control Shift mouse button, you can already visualize only this texture. By the way, I realized I don't show you the screencasts anymore. I don't know why. Ah, it's visible here. Okay. So now if I just increase the scale on this noise texture, it can be the roughness for us. I can also always add a color ramp here to increase the contrast in between. And now I'm going to connect this to roughness of our tire. And here you go. It's a little bit too strong, so I will just make reflective one. I will just make it more matte. So something like this might be interesting. We can always change the scale of it, bigger or smaller, maybe even less contrast in between these two, maybe something like that. Very subtle roughness. I think it works well. So I will just make Control T to this to move it from the object to the vector, because I want to use the same node for the pattern on the top of our tire. So basically I will just pick this two, Control C, go to other material, Control V, edit to the roughness, noise texture, Control T again, and from object to vector, basically we should have same size and same type of roughness. Alright, I think that's it for our basic tire model. We can just copy and paste it to our model to see the difference. Before that, actually, we can apply all the modifiers to make it easy later. Otherwise, you need to keep the empty and the circle inside and move them always all together. I personally prefer to keep it separate, so I will just apply all the modifiers by Control A, hide it. This is already applied, hide it. Control A, one by one, hide it. And this one also has subdivision, Control A and hide it. And now I can delete this too, unhide everything. So now everything is like free objects without any modifiers. So I can save it as it is. Then we can import it to somewhere else. For example, this is a very basic model here. If you are following me, you probably saw it on Instagram and YouTube Shorts nowadays. I'm just building this kind of muscle car step by step. And there will be also a big video about this, like long video. But for now, even on this stage, when I'm modeling, I just feel the need of, rather than the cylinders, I want to add a wheel here. because it already changes everything. Let's make the scene a little bit lighter first. All right, so now rather than the cylinders, we will just copy paste our wheel and it will already change the approach to this car. Another thing is, if you want, you can keep them separately, or you can pick everything and Ctrl J. So now it's one object, so maybe it's even easier. Ctrl C on this file, go back to the car, Ctrl V, go to side view, scale it down, maybe something like this, a little bit changing the location as well. Ctrl X, it's a bit too big, something like that should make it. And I will just Shift D and move it on the Y axis as well, the rear of the car. And the rear wheel is a bit bigger as I remember on this model, so I will just scale it up a little bit, something like that, and delete this basic cylinder. Ctrl A all transforms, because I will add now mirror modifier on this wheels, so just mirror also on this one, and here we go. It already adds more value to this project. It also already gives me some more motivation and feels like you accomplished more and the car is going in a better direction. And it's definitely better to understand your car in a better way, because the basic cylinder is big, huge volume, and rather than adding a bevel to the basic cylinder or downloading an existing car rim and make it look bad, you can just download this one, or you can just model yourself now and you can add it to your projects in every stage. Even if it was like a very simple model like this, still adding these wheels adds more value and more interest to the project and to the process. Alright, I hope you enjoyed and learned something from this tutorial. Please don't forget to download the model and like the video. Also comment down below if you have any questions. Also, I'm planning to create a new Blender course, which will be more advanced and more complex surfaces and stuff. So also in the comments, let me know what are your struggles while modeling a car, while modeling your own car design and this type of things, so I can focus on them on the new upcoming course. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.